talk a little bit about Heaven or Las Vegas's cover, it was created by a guy called Paul West, who had actually already worked with the Cocteau Twins, designing their Bluebell Knoll cover. Funnily enough, Jamie, whilst he was a student, Paul West had written a thesis on the marriage of album cover art and the music it packaged, if you can believe that.
Wow, interesting.
So it seems like he would be quite a good addition to our nightclub door staff if he ever fancies a career change. So yeah, Paul West, if you're listening, give us a shout on Instagram if you fancy making some guest appearances on Death with the Record. Maybe you can become our new album cover nightclub specialist.
Our consultant.
Anyway, yeah, our consultant, exactly. So for Heaven or Las Vegas, Paul West and photographer Andy Ramble basically spent a lot of time experimenting with photography. They were shooting in a kind of kitchen cum studio, improvising with like sparklers, colour fades and clothing. Obviously, this was in a time before digital cameras, so each film roll had to be sent off to be processed, negatives come back, photos printed up, cropped, and then kind of positional album type was hand painted on an acetate overlay. So it's all, I don't know, I know this sounds really like 2020, but it all does sound very, very tedious. The cover that you see today is the result of some experimentation with long exposure photography. So this is the kind of thing that you might find on Facebook photo albums, NYE 2009, when everyone thought it was really cool to get a sparkler out and take a long exposed photo. Jamie, it's time to pretend that you're writing an art school thesis. What do you think the cover captures best about Heaven or Las Vegas?
I would say almost everything. Like in forms of harmony between music and artwork, this has got to be a pretty much 10 out of 10. So Paul West, like, eat your heart out. I think the sense of euphoria that their music can produce is mirrored perfectly in the kind of swirls of colours of the Christmas lights. Also, you know, we were talking a lot about alchemy earlier. It kind of is almost like what I imagine a chemical reaction might look like if it were to be depicted in like in a photo. Then the sense of this band being ethereal, otherworldly, heavenly, or indeed overstimulated in the way that your mind might be when you're inside a Las Vegas casino. I think that is all captured in this cover. I think the real question of whether this album is GOAT level or VIP is down to how iconic you think it's become. I would personally say it's scraping in as GOAT. So that would be our second GOAT album cover of the series after Joni Mitchell. But I would accept a very good VIP score. You know, really the red carpet treatment without maybe getting into that greatest of all time level. What do you think?
So I find it interesting because Robin Guthrie apparently told the design studio that he wanted the cover to capture the ethereal, and those are his words.
Oh.
And as you're saying, 100% this does that. I mean, one thing I will say is this album cover is a lot better than a lot of other Cocteau Twins covers, because I mean most of those would be sent packing. So the fact that we're even discussing this getting into Go is maybe a bit harsh, but you know, big up. They did a good work. I'm gonna say VIP because I'm not as sold on the aesthetics. So if you're happy to go with VIP, then I think that would probably be a fair judgment.